July 20th, 2025. We still have a heat advisory, so I can't go outside. Hey, don't lick the laptop, silly puppy. That's not needed. You're so silly. So I'm just going to be reading I'll just be reading aloud my review for the newest Murderbot thing that can't rightfully be called a story, and you'll see. That is called Rapport, Friendship, Solidarity, Communion, Empathy. Because we're pretending that... Oh, I think they changed the name of... They changed the name. That's funny. Anyways, hold on. Let me... Hold on, I'm opening an Internet Archive page. Okay. Anyways, yeah, gonna be reading this out loud because can't go outside and can't really start anything else because some people are bad at communicating, so I have no idea when we're leaving. Alrighty. Anyways, this reads like bad fanfiction. Where to start? There's no exposition and literally no ending. Murderbot isn't in it without any warning that this story is set in the past. They're calling it book 7.5, but it's actually set close after book 2. So if you, like me, had your hopes up that we'd finally get to see some progress of anything in this series, let your hopes down now. We're still not seeing the fruition of the promise Martha Wells has made us twice now that things will change and progress, and we will get to see the so-called good guys actually do anything to help people and not just fighting to uphold the status quo. Also, to interrupt my review, I like that the birds decide they're gonna screech now, but not when I was recording King Kong, and it would have been accurate background noise for the people in the jungle. I see how it is, Oliver. I see how it is. We would get to see the so-called good guys actually do anything to help people and not just continually fighting to uphold the status quo. So in this one, Art and its crew, the so-called good guys, literally just walk past people being forcibly displaced in a story published in 2025 and do nothing to help them. They don't even think about doing anything to help them. These rich, privileged researchers who are so rich that the concept of hanging laundry up to dry is inconceivable to them. Well, they're the good guys we're meant to cheer for, and they don't care about poor people. They're here to look at some painting, for some reason, that we aren't told, because there's no exposition and no ending. There are 14 names that get thrown at us if we're generous and count Art and Perihelion as the same name, which I almost think I shouldn't for the number of times the nickname Perry threw me through a loop while reading this, including a new character whose name gets mentioned once and then never again. We don't know who these people are or what they're doing. Starting off, I assumed they were mercenaries of some sort because we were just told they were going on a mission with Art's crew, and we weren't, at any point, told what they were trying to accomplish. Like I said, there's no exposition. It took me forever to realize that Murderbot was straight up not in the story. I was assuming it was sitting off somewhere alone in Art, listening in through the feed, but not feeling the need to comment until it was time to actually go on the station. Nope. It's literally not there because this story is set in the past without any warning. Just like Book 6. Martha Wells promised us at the end of Book 7, just like she promised us at the end of Book 5, that things would be different in the next story, and now, just like the first time she made and broke that promise, she's broken it again by setting this story, it can't even be rightfully called a story, in the past, so that, fundamentally, nothing can progress in any way. This has all the problems of her writing that are displayed in the rest of the series and in her other books, and more. Because this one has very, very obvious typos in it, despite being published for more than a week before I even knew it existed, with plenty of time for someone, anyone, to just edit it in 5 seconds to fix the mistakes. Like the other books in this series and Martha Wells' writing in general, there are no stakes to be found in this story at all. We're told in the blurb that this is a dangerous mission, but they breeze through it all without any danger at all. We are told it was a new adventure, but again, it's set in the past, and so far in the past that it fundamentally cannot offer us anything new because it can't change anything. It sure does try, though. The author lies to us multiple times about multiple things in this story instead of doing actual character development. We are just getting lied to and told that Art learned all of this stuff from Murderbot, which is just objectively not true. It was doing all of this in Book 2 with no help or even coaching from Murderbot. Why is Martha Wells trying to lie to us? Doesn't she understand that people are going to reread Book 2? Doesn't she understand that people are probably reading Book 2 before they read this, if they are told ahead of time that that's when it's fucking set? Also, again with the lack of descriptions, the characters exist in a blank void. They teleport to a doorway, look through that doorway. If we're lucky, we get the most bare-bones description possible, written in the most confusing way possible, and then the characters have an inane and literally useless conversation while, I have to assume, walking along through the blank void with no description of what they're doing or even what they're supposed to be accomplishing. And then they magically appear on the other side of the room, as though they were walking through a whole setting the whole time. Rinse and repeat, at least 3 separate times. There's a lot of dialogue that's clearly meant to be funny banter, but it falls completely flat, because aside from Art, Iris, and Tariq, I don't know who any of these characters are, and have been given no reason to care about them. None of it is even funny just on the face of it. It's the kind of dialogue that we need to have some connection to the characters to enjoy, and that connection is just not there. Despite these supposedly being the good guys, none of them actually care about the violent forced displacement going on around them, except for thinking about how sad it makes them, the rich, privileged jackbutts who don't have to worry about this kind of thing, and aren't lifting a finger to help anyone going through it, literally right in front of them. I thought based on the blurb, which I will interrupt the thing to read to you quick, because I have that pinned in a tab. The blurb is, Perihelion and its crew embark on a dangerous new mission at a corporate-controlled station in the throes of a hostile takeover. Back to my review. I thought based on the blurb that they were coming here to help these people. Nope. They don't care. They're just going to sneak past everyone without any trouble and look at a mural that is somehow different from the graffiti surrounding it because Martha Wells has some weird definition of what does and does not count as graffiti. I guess she thinks that murals are never graffitied ever, which is a really fucking weird thing to say. And by weird, I mean it sounds like she's never seen real graffiti except on overpasses from her car. The heroes of the story are not here to help anyone, not even as a frantic plan B that they make up on the spot since they weren't expecting any of this to be happening. They magically pull out an untraceable currency card from nowhere with no hint that they had that before, and then no one even thinks about using some of that untraceable money or their magical hacking skills that can do anything, despite the author trying to insist to us that they're not really using magic. We all know that the hacking in this fucking thing can do literally anything and everything. There's no use denying it. So what are they here for? Why aren't they doing anything to help these people? Why are we supposed to look forward to Murderbot joining this crew when they're not actually helping people? We've been getting the idea built up to us that Art's crew helps people. That's why it's supposed to be exciting that Murderbot, at some point, is supposedly going to join them. But they literally do not care. They aren't doing anything to help people. They're not here to help anyone, and they don't even change their plans to start helping when they find out what's going on. How are these the good guys? It's not even like they're helpless and have no choice. They could be doing so much. We're supposed to be excited at the thought of Murderbot joining Art's crew, quote, to help people, but now This is what Martha Wells calls helping people? Being bodyguards for even richer jackbutts to lead them past all the icky poor people who are being forcibly displaced so the even richer people can look at a painting? This is what we have to look forward to in the next book? This is the so-called helping people? I don't care about whatever Stargate reference ancient aliens bullcrap is going on with the painting because we're pretending symbolism doesn't fucking exist. Why aren't they helping anyone? Why aren't they even thinking about helping anyone? How are these supposed to be the good guys? Also, there's multiple typos and blatant mistakes. At one point, there was a missing space so that the words, she honestly, becomes one word, she honestly. In another spot, there was a missed paragraph break where somebody managed to hit Shift-Enter instead of Enter. There's also, to interrupt the review because I ran out of characters for the review, but there's another spot where there is supposed to be feed dialogue, which is indicated by italics, but it's given regular quotation marks, and that happens at least twice. I genuinely can't even figure out how you make these kinds of mistakes, let alone how this got to publish without one single person fixing them. It's like the author just spat this out and slapped it into the story without letting a single other person read it or even rereading it herself. I could understand missing a space if this story had any of the usual abbreviations, and then she forgot a space in a similarly structured phrase. But in she honestly? How do you even do that? And how did no one catch it before it was published? How the heck do you accidentally hit Shift-Enter instead of just Enter? The following paragraph didn't even start with capital letters or anything that requires pushing the Shift key, so there's not even any excuse. And again, even if that error occurred in the first draft, how the heck did it make it here for me and the thousands of other people to read? Isn't this being professionally edited? And to interrupt the review again, yes, because if you look at the top of the page, it says, right next to the illustrator's name, edited by Lee Harris. So yeah, somebody named Lee Harris got paid to edit this and put their name on it. If not professionally edited, which it supposedly is, why isn't it even being read over by a friend or family member? Did literally no one read this before it was released? What the heck is going on behind the scenes with this publisher if this is what they're putting out? This story doesn't have an ending. There is no resolution. It just stops so abruptly without a single thing being accomplished, with some cliche dialogue line that would only work if the character we're following had started out depressed and pessimistic, which she didn't. This can't even be rightfully called a story because a story has a beginning, middle, and end. This has no beginning, barely any middle, and no ending. How did this get published? And why is it being sold for the same amount of money as the first book, which is more than 4 times longer than this, was getting sold for? That one also had a very abrupt and lackluster ending, but at least it had an actual page count. Nothing was accomplished in this at all, except the author lying to us as though we have the memory of the urban legend of Goldfish and will have just forgotten what actually happened in book 2. The only thing at all that can be said to quote-unquote matter, and it really doesn't, in this thing is a maybe 2-page conversation right at the very end when the story just stops going anyway. It seems like the entire quote-unquote purpose for this was to get us to forgive Art for betraying Murderbot's confidence as a runaway slave whose very life depends on no one knowing it's escaping, and blabbing about it to Art's whole crew at the first opportunity. This does not accomplish that. Nothing happened in this quote-unquote story to make me forgive Art. There were no extenuating circumstances. No one even pushed it for answers. It just gave up the runaway slave for no reason, like it was nothing. I'm actually madder at it than I was before, especially because the author then goes on for several lines in this book, insisting to us that art is actually literally perfect and doesn't ever misinterpret anything or act impulsively and never gets a single thing wrong. Jesus fucking Christ. She is literally telling us to our faces that art is perfect and always right. Just like she told us to our faces that Ziti is righteously angry and also always right. In the exact same short story where she shows us that art is actively abusing its crew members. What in the ever-loving cosmos is this crap? Art literally attacks Mateo through their feed interface because it's mad at them, and then the rest of the crew has to frantically cover for the fact that Mateo just got attacked when the other people in the room are concerned, by acting like it's some kind of inside joke. It's the equivalent of a scene where a woman gets punched in the face by her husband while they're on the fucking bus, and then the woman has to nervously laugh it off when her friends are justifiably upset. And somehow we're supposed to like art and agree that it's perfect, when we now have explicit confirmation that it physically abuses its crew when they say things it doesn't like. Here's the fucking scene. Mateo said, first talking it's not even telepathy. Talking in the private Facebook group chat, Mateo said, "This seems like a pretty close friend with all this highly sophisticated system penetration code they..." Then Art attacks Mateo, physically fucking assaults Mateo, to the point that Mateo is so shocked that they stop speaking in the private group chat and yell out loud, "Whoa, okay, I was joking, I'm sorry, don't hurt me," and physically throw an arm over their interface, the source of the fucking pain. They are literally so shocked by this attack that they are instinctively fucking trying to defend themselves from somebody, a physical threat that's not there, because it's through their fucking interface. And they are so fucking shocked by it that they stopped speaking in the Facebook messenger thing, which is so instinctual to these people that they don't need to think about it. But this pain was so fucking sharp and frightening that they started talking out loud unintentionally. Ladson and Sunara, the two other people on the bus who are not a part of this abusive relationship, stared in startled consternation. Ladson said uncertainly, "Are you talking to the transport?" "They're just kidding around," Tariq said. Iris added, "That doesn't happen." Mateo smiled reassuringly. "Right, it was a joke. We like to joke around, me and Perry." That's a scene. That's a scene of Art physically assaulting somebody because they said something it doesn't fucking like, to the point that they are physically reacting to trying to fucking defend themselves. Why are we laughing off physical abuse like this? The fact that every single one of the crew immediately jumps to trying to hand wave this away is so unbelievably concerning and just fucking horrifying. Mateo said something Art didn't like, and Art attacked them through the feed in some way that shocked them so much that they yelled out loud for it to not hurt them. And Martha Wells is the one who keeps going on and on about not stereotyping robots as evil and cruel for the sake of it. And she expects us to laugh off Art physically abusing its crew. What even is the message meant to be getting sent here? Is it that domestic violence is funny as long as it happens to non-binary people? And yes, Mateo is non-binary and uses they-them pronouns. Our first ever human non-binary character who doesn't appear for 5 seconds, only to disappear, never to be seen again. Too bad they're barely in this story at all, had zero part in either book 5 or 6, or 5 or 7, and we're supposed to laugh when they are physically abused by Martha Wells' favorite character who can do no wrong and is literally perfect in every fucking way. This has managed to make me dislike Art even more than I did before I read this. And that's saying something, considering it tortured a slave to death in book 7. Now we've gotten confirmation straight from the horse's mouth that every single thing it does is 1,000% premeditated on purpose. Art is not capable of crimes of passion because it thinks so much faster than literally every single fucking person around it. It decided on purpose, premeditated, to tear that fucking person limb from limb instead of knocking them unconscious and rescuing them. And Martha Wells thinks that this is supposed to make us like the character more instead of making all of its horrible behavior even more evil retroactively, because now there's no excuses that can be made for it. She has explicitly gone out of her way to tell us that art does not act impulsively. It is incapable of acting impulsively because it is thinking hundreds of times faster than everyone around it. Apparently, every second that passes for art is the equivalent of several hours of time to think about it. This means that every single fucking thing that art has ever done wrong is a fucking premeditated crime that it had all the goddamn time in the world to decide not to do and chose to do it anyways. Please do not waste your money on this when you can read it for free on the publisher's websites. It's not even worth $2. You could get an actual book for that price at a used bookstore. Save your money for something that doesn't waste your time and go nowhere besides just trying to lie to you about what already got established in the series and laughing about domestic violence while the supposed heroes walk past people being forcibly displaced without lifting a fucking finger to help them. Clearly, escorting some rich people to look at some bullcrap ancient aliens painting is more important than actually helping anyone, even though we've been promised twice now that if Murderbot joins Art's crew, it'll get a chance to really make a difference and really help people. I guess by help people, Martha Wells means let rich people keep their clothes nice and clean while fast walking past the poor people being subject to atrocities. And I didn't even get to the part where we act like it would be disgusting and disgraceful for Art to fall in love with another ship who's enslaved by the Corporation Rim. I guess I'll add that in tomorrow. Alright, it's the next day. Yeah, this story posits that it would be disgusting and disgraceful and shameful for Art/Perihelion, a living ship, to fall in love with another living ship, because it is racially superior to them in every way by virtue of being made by different people and being allowed to speak verbally instead of being artificially limited to only quote-unquote images and symbols that never actually get described because Martha Wells doesn't even seem to grasp how language works. Because these other living ships weren't given speakers to talk aloud with, Martha Wells has decided that that means they're not actually really people because she hates physically disabled people, including nonverbal people. These other living ships are treated more like pets than people by the fucking good guys, even though they are literally people. So according to Martha Wells and her protagonist, it would be disgusting and disgraceful and demeaning for Art to fall in love with one of them, even though any robot or cyborg can communicate with these other living ships without any effort because they can all communicate together non-verbally. This would be the equivalent of an interracial relationship because the different races of ship are based on where and how they were built. And the idea of this interracial relationship is reviled in this thing we can't even dignify with the title of story. Art's sister, one of its slave owners, is so distraught by the idea of Art falling for another living ship that she literally covers her face in shame and begs it to tell her that that is not what it is trying to tell her. Exactly like a horrifically bigoted family member trying to deny that their family is trying to tell them they're dating someone of a race or a sex they don't want them to. When Art says it instead met a cyborg, Art's quote-unquote sister is instantly relieved because it quote-unquote makes sense that a racially superior robot would fall in love with a human with mechanical augments because humans are superior to all robots, so the only object worthy of Art's affection must obviously be a superior human. Wow, it sure is lucky that Art didn't fall in love with another living ship and doesn't have to hide that fact from its so-called family, aka slave owners, and be ashamed about it. That would be fucking terrible. And this whole scene is framed as a queer coming out with a happy ending. After the sister, slave owner, literally just shamed the character being coded as queer out of ever telling her that it has feelings about another living ship, which is coded as same-sex attraction, because now it knows the only acceptable partners for it are people of different construction, coded as opposite-sex attraction. Sarcasm. Yeah, this totally has no horrible implications here at all on the queer coding side of things. And just look at that title. Rapport, friendship, solidarity, communion, empathy. And then not one of our supposed good guys can display a single shred of solidarity or quote-unquote empathy for any of the people literally being violently displaced right in front of them, which they have the ability to help. They have a massive fucking transport that can probably carry hundreds of people with no problem. But do they offer to help any of these people get to safety before they get shoved out an airlock? Nope. Is the title supposed to be disgustingly ironic? You can tell Martha Wells is a white woman to be publishing this shit in 2025 and having this be the actions of the heroes. That's the end of what I wrote for my review because I ran out of fucking characters. I will link the review in the fucking description of this video. But there's just so many things wrong with this fucking thing. It's just disgusting. I swear. These are people on a space station that has just been taken over. These people are being violently displaced from their homes on the space station. This is a capitalist nightmare. This is space colonization that these people are walking past. These rich, unbelievably rich and privileged motherfuckers are strolling past. And none of them pause for... Martha Wells is just fucking evil at this point. How do you write something like this in 2025 and have the good guys just not even think about helping? Like, there's situations where the characters could be genuinely fucking helpless and unable to help. That's not what's going on here, though, because these characters don't even want to help. At no point does one single fucking person stop for 5 seconds, and they don't even have to stop. They could keep walking, but they could be desperately fucking arguing about this on their fucking space Facebook Messenger. None of these characters want to do a single thing to help any of these poor people who are all going to get thrown out of the goddamn airlocks after they get stripped naked for all of their clothing and valuables. Because that's how colonization works. That's how fucking capitalist dystopian colonization works. They're on a fucking space station. Do you know how expensive it is to run a fucking shuttle from a planet to a goddamn space station? The people colonizing this space station and violently displacing these people are not gonna be fucking nice and give them all a taxi to whatever fucking planet is nearby, if there's even a planet. We don't know because there's no fucking setting. They're all going to get stripped naked and shoved out a fucking airlock. Because that's how you save money. That's how you kill people efficiently in space without having to worry about having to clean up blood or getting fucking bullets through your goddamn hull. And none of the so-called good guys here, these are the people that Martha Wells has been building up for 5 years, that Murderbot is going to go on missions with and make a real difference. And then this is what Martha Wells decides to showcase as an example of them making a difference. And they're not making a difference. If these people saw you getting arrested by ICE on the street, they would awkwardly avoid eye contact and walk faster. Not even just that. They would walk faster to get away if they just saw you as a fucking poor person existing in their vicinity. And these are the people that we are supposed to be waiting for Murderbot to join up with, so it can make a real difference and really help people. We were literally told that the whole thing that these people do is go around to places like this and try to stop the fucking colonization. But I guess that would actually be require Martha Wells to want them to do something against the status quo. So instead, none of them give a single flying shit about the colonization happening in front of them. They could literally be fucking... It's just unbelievable. I shouldn't have to explain all of this shit. They could literally be saying all of the people here actually booked transport with us on our ship, the Perihelion, last month. And then they literally cram as many people into art as you can fucking get, with everybody still able to fucking breathe, and get them to fucking safety while calling their goddamn university to send more fucking ships to transport everybody before they are literally thrown out the fucking airlock and executed in a fucking genocide. Does Martha Wells not fucking grasp that by having the heroes walk past people who are being led to mass fucking slaughter and not even thinking about helping, when they have the power to do so, these people are now fucking evil? This is what she has been telling us all to look forward to for 5 fucking years now. Murderbot's gonna join up with these people and they're gonna make a difference. They're gonna be rescuing people. But what they actually do is just act as bodyguards for people even more disgustingly rich than they are to go look at some fucking paintings while you and all your other poor people friends are being rounded up and led to fucking execution. And we're just supposed to be fine with this. And the only reason any of these rich people feel bad at all is, oh, this reminds me of the thing that I didn't actually go through as a child because my family was rich. So we don't have to deal with this. And it's like, what? If Ladson is supposed to have a tragic backstory that makes us sympathetic to him, why isn't he the one literally forcing all of them to change their plans to get people out of here? I cannot stress enough to you people. All of the people on this space station who are being kicked out, they're going to die. They are going to be murdered. They are going to be stripped naked and thrown out the fucking airlock, because that is how this fucking works. That's how colonization works. That is especially how colonization works in space capitalism. Resources. All of the fucking fiber in their clothing is expensive resources that nobody is going to want to throw away. Everybody on this space station that is not part of the invading and now occupying force is going to be fucking murdered. These people have brought a massive fucking transport with them that is used for hauling cargo. They could fit hundreds of people aboard ART. They could be sending back distress signals to their goddamn university, which owns an entire fucking solar system all to itself. They could be saying so much shit. They could be cutting off communications between the different military groups. Go read just anything that is not by Martha Wells. Go read something that's actually by Ann Leckie instead of Martha Wells misquoting Ann Leckie for the billionth fucking time. These are supposed to be our good guys, and they will literally casually stroll past ongoing mass fucking slaughter. And none of them even think, I wish we could help these people. This could be a thing where they are actually helpless in the situation, but they're not helpless because these aren't poor people who have no resources at their disposal. They aren't the victims of this. They are just the rich motherfuckers slumming it to take pictures of some fucking graffiti some ancient aliens fucking bullshit, because Martha Wells fucking loves Stargate and ancient aliens bullshit, and I guess her love of the Alien franchise is making her decide, yeah, the ancient alien stuff there, we gotta keep that too. And it's like, can you fucking not? What the fuck has to be wrong with you to be publishing a thing like this in 2025, where the heroes casually stroll past what is going to be a mass fucking slaughter, and not a single one of them can say, I wish we could do something. These people have every goddamn power to they could literally fucking stop this whole situation if they really fucking wanted to. But they don't want to, because Martha Wells is a fucking white woman who actually worships the status quo. She's 100% fucking fine with capitalism. She's 100% fucking fine with racism. She is literally, as you fucking listen to this, unless you're listening to this in 2130, in which case she's dead. I'll probably be dead unless some fucking weirdo miracle. She is literally profiting off of being a fucking white supremacist and cheering on non-stop the whitewashing of her literal own goddamn protagonist. She is a racist white woman, and now, July 10, 2025, she wants us to cheer on and look up to characters who literally don't even think about wanting to help people facing what is literally going to be a mass fucking slaughter. That's it. Bye-bye.